Well, we're back with another video, and we're looking inside the messy rear end of the 6-wheel drive ambulance. And you can see here it has 6 wheels, and 4 of them drive until the center diff lock's engaged, then it's 6-wheel drive. It is actually a 6-wheel drive. Everybody can stop asking me about that. Anyway, we have all the mattresses dragged out of here today because they got wet. We got about 150 mil of rain. Sydney's flooding, Brisbane's flooding, most of the rivers around here are flooding. We've had a brief break in the weather. So I've decided to investigate where all that water was coming from that got inside the cabin. I thought I'd fixed it all. I ended up taking this vent off, which is where most of the water was coming from, and I think it's an old problem that I thought I'd solved. Now, there are 2 other vents up in here on either side. I have put plasticized aluminium flashing tape over that to stop the water getting in, because some genius that had it before me put acid cure silicone around the top of those aluminium vents and they corroded. So until I can figure out how to replace or fix them, they're covered up with tape. Excuse the wind here. Now let's go up to the top here and have a look. So we can see the solar panel brackets here I've done with angle iron. I think it's a result of these vents here. They're a little rusty around the edge. If we park nose downhill, the water can well up in this little hole here and flow into this vent. Now there is a little lip at the front of that vent that should prevent water running back in there, but it's not for some reason. So I think I'm going to use a piece of plastic sheet and my flashing tape and try and tape it down over the top of this again. But before I do that, I have another product that I might solve 2 problems. I'll have to get down off the ladder again to explain that. So I have some of this stuff, which I think is pretty much like spray-on roof and gutter silicone. Now there is another issue that I want to solve with this as well, and that's the little window join there. We'll go around and have a look at that in more detail. So that is the join between the cabin and the body here, which you may or may not be able to see through this gap. Now that, if we go up here, we might be able to see with more clarity, or not. It's a challenging spot to see. And I always get messages. You see, I touched the Argo and the sat tracker has told me that somebody's touched it. Anyway, water flows down in the top here and wells up on the top of that, and over time it's perished and started to leak a little bit of water. It then wells up in the bottom, doesn't go anywhere, and then when I take a hard corner, it all sloshes up and goes down my back or into the kids' bed. So I have poked a small drain hole in the bottom of that side, but I need to seal the areas here where I've put tape over it to try and stop the water leaking in there. So I'm hoping that spray stuff might do the job for the short term. Replacing this means removing the rear module. It's not something I really have the means or the will to do, so we're going to bodge this as best we can. But I'm going to start up the roof while we have a gap in all this rain. There's apparently a lot more on the way, so we'll try and get up here, and I think I'll spray some of this stuff around that vent for a start, see if I can seal up any non-obvious leaks, and then we'll put some flashing tape over it. And we might do the other one as well, because it does kind of leak, but nothing like that one. So there is something different about the 2, so I'll inspect that one as well and see if I can see anything wrong with that. But I'd like to patch up the ugly hole. So alright, let's get cracking. Alright, well, I've never used this stuff before. I don't know how it's going to behave, so there's a little sticky thing in the lid. Is that, what's that for? Oh, that's like a little fiber reinforcer thing. Okay, that could be handy to have. Alright, now let's see if we can spray a bit of this stuff around here. I assume that it might be wicking in under the edges where it's rusty here. It's a little hard to get in under there. I'm glad I got the spray pack for this. It is fairly thick. It is a lot like a spray-on silicone. Kind of liking this stuff, so I might, while I'm here, I did fish oil these, but can't hurt to give them a bit of a touch up on the bolts here. Oh. Move the lid. Alright, I might as well do the same for the other side. I'll let this stuff set and I'll come back to it. It is turning that white silicon look, so I'm kind of enjoying that. That does look like it's actually going to seal it up nicely. So a little bit more here in the rusty bit then. We're not really looking at this bit, so looks don't worry me too much. Alright, let's get down on the other side. Let's clean some of the junk out of here that's stuck to the fish oil. This has actually had a few paint chips off this one. I'll clean all of this out. It certainly seems in better condition, and I'm noticing the seal around here is not as rusty. That we could be onto something here. And I think I do need to seal these bits up as well. It's these niggly little things that if you do them, you do tend to arrest a lot of the rust and degradation over time. So while I'm looking at it, I'll go back the other side and do all those brackets. Now I'm going to do this bit left-handed. Let's see how we go here. I usually brag that I can do most things with both hands. This may or may not be one of those things. Give it a good shake, remove our camera angle here. Problem is going to be getting in here. I have to tip the can at a non-optimal angle and then prime the... Oh god, I sprayed it upwind. Don't do that. Now I have to prime the what's the word? The tube, we'll say, first. While I'm here, I'm going to give this a quick spray across some of the rusty bits. I will probably go get to town and spray everything at some point. Right, so I'm hoping that seals some of the potential leaks. And alright, we'll let all this set. We can see that if we change our camera angle up here, and see there's the other one on the other side. So we'll give it a bit of time. What's our curing time is the next thing. Allow to dry for 15 minutes and check that there aren't any gaps. Repeat if necessary. Repair will be rain ready in 2 hours. Well, our weather usually comes from that direction, so I reckon we might at least have an hour. The wind is going fairly quick, so I'll check the rain radar in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to get some tape and I'm going to get inside and see if we can do that seal between the cab and the body. Just in the process of moving all the bedding out of the way, we can see it has sloshed down this side quite a bit. All this vinyl, we're going to rip this out at some point and put new stuff on top, and probably get some of that glue remover as well. It's expensive stuff, that. Anyway, we want to get into there. I do want to check that the secret stash under here hasn't got waterlogged as well, because that's where I keep some documentation and tools. And yes, it has been wet because the paperwork is wet down there. That's annoying. Alright, I've got to get both hands under this and have a look at what's going on down there. Right, so there is actually quite a bit of water floating around in here. I may have to drill a drain hole for that, which will probably affect its forwarding abilities, but I don't think we're going to be forwarding through water that's that deep. Probably sensible that I didn't store the excess chips packets in there, but my emergency backup spanners are now wet. But fortunately, they are not too hard to dry out, and as is my backup screwdriver set, but I don't think the water's got into that. So I think I'll address that before that becomes a mold pot. And these little leather things that were in here when I got it, I don't know what they're for anyway, they can come out. Okay, let's get this water sorted, then we can get into sealing that up. Okay, so I've had a crawl underneath and had a look at where this tub is. The edges of the tub are right beside, or right above, the fuel sedimenters. So I've got to be careful not to go too deep here. So I might I'm going to set my drill bit in as far as it'll go, just so that doesn't happen. Now we are slightly downhill on this side, so I'm going to drill right in the corner. Need to go a little bit longer because there's 16mm wood under it as well. There's that hole. Now I've got to get through the steel belly plate underneath it. Alright, now it would appear water is draining. We'll find out in a couple of minutes. Alright, looks like the water's mostly draining out. I'm going to use a bit of this multi-purpose surface cleaner here. I'll give it a spray in here, mostly because it keeps the mould down, but I find it helps lower the evaporation point of the water as well. So left to air, it will tend to dry out much better. So, and I'll give it a wipe down with a rag as well, and it should clean things out a bit. Hopefully should be a bit cleaner and sweeter smelling in a minute. Many other things I keep on board. There's a bag of workshop rags. Well, at least that's an improvement in here anyway. Try and drag as much dirt out of this as we can, but of course there's loads of it in here. I might need to pull that flooring up at some point and clean that out. Wow, there's a load of junk in here. Kind of glad we're cleaning this out. Yep. Alright, it's going to take a bit. We'll be back. Now, as usual, I'm kind of guessing at camera angles here. But what we're going to do, we're going to peel our tape off here. And I'm actually thinking with the, I've had a bit of a rethink. The stuff in the cap here looks like a fibre reinforcer thing. I'm thinking that might be kind of indicative of how the stuff's meant to be used. But now I had planned on taping off down either side and spraying so I don't get overspray. And I think that I was about to rethink that, but generally when I have ideas like that, they tend to be good ones. So we're going to mask off this area a bit with some gaffer tape. But I'm thinking once I put this stuff on, maybe putting gaffer tape back over it might work. But we'll try in this area where it's not too bad first. We'll try and tape it off as best we can in that area. Usually pays to take your time with masking. Alright. This is an awkward spot, I must say. Alright. I'm just putting it on very gently because I intend to peel it off again afterwards. And that bit of tape is covering up the hole that I want to spray. A little bit more up here. It's not the prettiest, but it also isn't pretty the way it was when we got it. So, alright, I think I've got one bit there and another bit there. I think I'm going to move that bit down, try and get it all through there. I know this is sometimes it just takes time getting your masking right. Okay, I think that'll do the job. Let's spray. Okay, let's have a look here. It's very runny stuff and it's pretty nasty once it gets in the wind. But it looks like it's going to do a good job of sealing it. So yeah, I'll let that set for a bit and I'll peel the tape off. I've got to do the other end. I think I'll do those bits off camera. This is just going to take too much time to film and get right. So we'll be back in a minute. That, and I've got some of this multiple sclerosis side effect, or there's a treatment to the side effect. I am really tired today. I can't get my words right, especially when I don't have it scripted. I get treatment for multiple sclerosis, and one of the side effects is a rash. It's freaking itchy, so I might have to go treat that shortly. Anyway, we'll be back momentarily. So, while I've been out here working on the ambulance, the delivery arrived. This will be the plug for the boiling vessel, the new one. Nice and timely. Anyway, I gave up on the masking, so I ended up just spraying in there. It looks messy, but in fact it looks like somebody kind of had a bit of a good time. Yeah, ew. So I'll give it another squirt. I will think I'm going to clean up some of them drips and give it another spray. But oh my. Oh, the child in me is having some fun with this. Alright, I'm going to call this spray on jizz. It's going to be my new name for this stuff. Anyway, let's keep going, see if we can seal it up a bit more. Alright, oh, camera fell backwards. Now you're looking at the roof, I guess. Well, you can see what I'm doing here. The way I'm going to clean up the jizz droplets, we'll call it, is I'm going to take a workshop rag, but I need to... Oh, it's getting windy. Very windy. In fact, I don't even know what that was that fell over. I'm not even sure if you guys can hear it. But anyway, I'm taking a bit of workshop rag here, and I'm just going to mop up a little bit of the droplets, and probably a little bit over this side too. Really improvised camera angles here. So I'm just going to clean up the droplets. Irritatingly, the droplets are forming exactly on the areas that I'd like to seal. So let's give it just a quick spray. Not with your face downwind. Just little squirts. Yep. So I've got a little bit on the window frame. I'm just going to wipe that down. This does wipe off fairly easy while it's still setting. Alright, now is to figure out whether I'm going to tape up the vents at the roof, or whether I'm going to leave them like that and hope that they don't fill with water again. I may go up there, see what they're like, and give it a second application. Again, I'll do that off camera, and then we'll see how I'm going to deal with the rest of the situation. Well, we're on to the next problem. We had a bit of water dripping in through here, and I've noticed while I've been on the top, there's a bunch of debris in there. Let's see if we can get up the ladder and have a look. We'll go around the side here. And apologies for the wind, it's something I fight every time I film. Let's have a look along here. You probably see all the debris and sticks and junk that are building up in that drain gutter there. I think that's where some of the water's coming in. There is another scenario with water that we had. I had water dripping off this the other day when I had the door open. It's not inside, it's coming through outside. And I noticed that when I pull these studs off, there's a hole right here. And I think that somehow water is getting between the layers of the door, which can't be helping the weight of the door either. It's quite a heavy door. So, on the face of it, there's not many options where water could be getting in here. I theorised maybe around the handle, but I'm thinking maybe I can see water inside these fittings. So that could be a good hint as to what's going on there. It could also be coming in underneath that. I do know that water pools up around here and drips through this whole channel. So somehow water's getting into the door. I think what it's doing is it's getting in behind these rubber seals. Where are we pointing? It's getting in behind these rubber seals here and going in between the door layers and running down and then dripping through. That's what I suggest is happening. That one is less of a problem, but it is something I'm going to have to fix one day. So yeah, there's some interesting bits and bobs going on. Yeah, you can see here where it leaks through under this window, and somebody has tried to seal it up in the past. So it could be that I tape that up with proper masking tape and do a good job of it. But it concerns me that there's water coming through right in here. It means it's entering higher up in the door. So I can remove these plates here and see if there's water ingress behind those light fittings. But the screws are so rusted on them, it's going to be hard to get them off. Anyway, let's sort this channel out. I've got a piece of lock wire here. I'm going to turn that into a little scraper so I can scrape all that junk out. There is so much stuff to be done in this ambulance, it's easy to get distracted. So, what I want to do here is I don't want to scratch all the paint off. So I'm going to start by making a little thumb-sized loop here. And then I'm going to fold that over. And then I'm going to probably just bring it around a bit like this. And then I'll make myself a little handle down the bottom here that I can hold on to. That gives me some directional control over it as well. Okay, that should make a little scraper. Let's slot that into the channel and push our junk out. By demonstrating on this corner, then the rest I'm doing off camera. And slide that in sideways, then I can tip it along and drag all the junk out of the channel like that. Oh, that's a bit hard to do one-handed. I'm inserting sideways, tilting, dragging out. Alright, I'm going to do that for the whole length. Okay, a slight distraction while I've been in the middle of all this. I've opened this for my monthly delivery and donations video, but you'll notice something went missing out of this in the background. I made a temporary plug with a couple of push connectors, but I took a guess on Amphenol's part number system as to the right plug that might fit this. And it does. It fits. Let's see if the lock ring fits. I think it goes that way. I got the right plug. Ha! Awesome. Awesome sauce. Alright, so we might fit ourselves up a boiling vessel plug very shortly. In fact, we can probably do that while the silicon's drying. And in the meantime, all my mattresses are blowing around the backyard, so I need to pick them up. And the council's here to water the plants as well. They just brought their truck past. So, I've got a bit to do. Be back in a moment. So, I'm going to take a momentary break to connect the lead for this. So I'm just measuring out how much lead I need. Originally I used the whole length of lead or cable that I had for the task with a view to trimming it to length when I needed it. Does present a bit of a trip hazard. Guys, I'm having trouble with articulation today. It really doesn't help. Actually, I'll tell you why I'm so tired. I'm going to stop halfway through this. I'll see if I can insert a little clip off my surveillance footage. Now, you'll see here, this is, what was it, nearly 2 in the morning this morning. Some people visiting somebody up the street that's selling a certain product they probably shouldn't be. Well, they've come past and decided they like my vehicles, and then decided that they found my perimeter beam. There is a bit of a delay here, but so he's right in front of it when he actually triggers it. Then he gets up and takes off. I did track down who they were, and I've had a talk to them and offered to repay the favour of waking them up at 2 in the morning when the next opportunity arrives. Probably when they least expect it. They didn't think that was a great arrangement, so yeah, they might live to see it anyway. We don't know. I've got to find out what I can get away with legally. Anyhow, let's get back to the task at hand. So let's trim this to about this. I think this gives us room to move in a few different directions here. Yeah, let's just go right up into the corner. That will let us, I'll give us a couple more inches. I'll give us about that. I need a bit to, whoa! Okay guys, unplug it first. Well, I'm glad the jaws are replaceable. I'm going to go see if I've blown the fuse. I don't think I have. Well, at least that happened on camera, so I can make for a good video. Let's have a look at the jaws. 24 volts, guys, it will come and get you. I thought I had a few, I thought I turned the isolation switch off. I apparently had not. Let's do that right now, so I don't make another mistake. All right. Cock-ups on camera. The way to get infamous. And just after I talked about being fatigued. So, lesson learnt, guys, here. Don't do this sort of stuff while you're tired. You make mistakes. Let's go inspect my fuse. Right, let's have a look in here. Alright, so it seems to think the batteries are connected. Let's pull the pin. Alright, so I'll probably, means I've got to go up to the local camping shop today, which means I'll probably leave a little early for my apprentice pickup time. Need some bigger washers for that too. Alright, let's inspect our big fuse here. No, our big 250 amp fuse seems alright. I think I opened the drawers ahead of time. Shunt's okay, there's no frizzled wiring. None of the terminal blocks are shagged, so I got lucky. Now, if you're not aware of dealing with DC and you're used to AC arcs, which are very noisy and self-extinguish a lot of the time, DC doesn't, and it's also a very quiet hiss, and it doesn't self-extinguish. So if you do what I did and you're not on the ball and not quick, it can keep on going until it sets fire to stuff. So it does tell me I might be putting a 60 amp fuse in line with that. But I tell you, that relay obviously did well. Actually, that'll be the thing that might be stuffed, is the solid state relay. I better check that that works. Solid state relay down here. Let's turn this on. Okay, relays. Oh, I'm bumping the switch. Let's unplug our bypass. Oh, that switch is a bit dicky, we knew that. I've got to replace that switch, but looks like the relay is functioning. So I might not have put, oh, whoop, no. Okay, and here's the other thing. I made my bypass. This is a, to replace the thermostat when there's nothing in there in case that switch fails. I put a fuse across this in case I plugged it into the wrong color plug. There's a good reason for that. Now I've set everything up to match the colors of the plug. This was a spare plug I had. I was about to plug that into here, which is the supply side. This is the thermostat side. So in case I did an idiot thing, it would just pop the fuse. That was something I did. I very, very nearly plugged it into the wrong plug there. I'm thinking I should probably call it quits, or at least have some lunch and then take things very slowly from here on. Now, we're inside. Let's have a look at what we need to do first. I probably should put the strain relief on before I do anything else. Now I have made note of, and wow, I can smell that plug. I have made note of where the keyway is in the original plug and taken photos, and I will be triple checking that. Right, so this is our plug shield. That obviously goes that way. These are the strain relief bits that I can put on after the fact. That should save me having to undo what I just did, or what I am about to do. Now there's some little mystery bits here. There's a cap, there's a rubber seal, so I assume that goes over the back of that, or maybe it goes in that way. And these, yeah, that looks like it's meant to go that way. And these are solder cups, which are easy to work with. That I think I need to put over the plug. I've got to determine which way that goes on. I think that should go this way because there's a lip, and that can't go any further. So that goes on that way, which then means that it's going to go that way. The cable needs to go through that way, and it needs to go on. Alright. That's the bits that will cause you problems. If you've ever done 100-meter swing stage leads and then had to go all the way back and put the shroud on or undo everything you just did, that's why. Right, I estimate about that much lead will probably be suitable, and we'll trim the crusty bits off and the bits of my Leatherman jaws, because I shouldn't be doing this. right now. Right. Bit of copper in that, but that's alright. At least we didn't kill the expensive thing. Now, rather than... Now, I need to get an idea of how much solder cup. Luckily, I've got about the right diameter wire for this. Now we have A, B and C leads. I think I'm using A and B for these two. I will find my notes and I'm going to check my pictures as well. I think about that should be about enough to do the job. Oh, alright, it's not going to come off easy. Let's chuck these in here and that should, I said should, will you listen to me, cable? Okay, wasn't scored well enough. It needs to come off there and there. Whoa. Okay, that should be enough to fit into the solder cups nicely. Oh, may need to lose a couple of strands there, just a couple. I generally don't like doing that, but I'm going to solder it, so it should go in, and I think ground goes in the bottom there. Yeah, I think I'm going to sit it in the cup and then feed solder in. It's not how you're supposed to do solder cups, but I think it's going to be the best way. Before I do that, I probably need to put the rubber seal thing on. So I'm going to check my notes, then I'm going to thread my cables through the rubber bit, and then we'll be soldering. Right, we've switched sides, guys. Had a bit of a camera malfunction, but I think I've got that sorted. While I was waiting for everything to reboot, I put this the rubber seal on. Now we need the famous blue tack that I use for everything, and we're going to put this here, and we're going to want some fume extraction, which is going to add even more noise to this already noisy workplace. Or I don't really think it's a workplace. Now, A was positive and B was negative. I think we're going to do negative first because that's the easiest one to get to. And if I put A in first, it will obstruct the view. So let's put some extraction on, fan out. Here we go. Now, I will tin this just a little bit, just to make things flow a little easier. And I am a little shaky at the moment too, so we're going to be dealing with that. Let's pull you up. Okay. I found that solder pot is just about the right support to get this cable in the right position. I don't want that flaring out. I don't want it twisted. So let's go somewhere about here. I might position it just nicely. That I think is going to be about right. I've only got one of these plugs, so I don't want to cock it up. So let's watch me cock it up. Just going to let it get nice and hot and whip all that solder in. And when I see it start to go in through the solder cup, then we know we're doing the right thing here. Just going to let it wick in there. Right, that looks pretty good. I'll let it cool for a bit and then I might have a look over the other side and just touch it up a little bit more on that side. This cable's probably a tiny bit too big for this, but you know, voltage drop and over engineering and all, like, let's soak a bit more solder in this side. And then we will clean a little bit of that up. Might get the desoldering tool into it. Anyway, I'm going to do the other one off camera so I can concentrate. So we'll be back. Well, they're on. So number one was not my greatest story soldering, but number two I got quite a bit better. It's kind of learning as you go. Now, I should have put a little bit of lube on this rubber seal before I put it on here, because it might not go over those connections now. I think by the time I do that shield up, it will. I just had a really scary thought that maybe I'd put something on wrong. This rubber seal just fell out too, so I think that is meant to go in the base here. I think that's where that's meant to sit. Alright, I had a scary thought that that thread was actually the plug side, but I know it's not. That's the plug side. I've definitely sold the cups on the back. I'm just second guessing myself everywhere at the moment. So let's go and take a look here. So you have to go all the way on. You are, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. Now, ideally I should have probably measured this and left the double insulation go as far up as the cable clamp. So that is one mistake, I guess. But given that I'm not selling it, alright. Now I can't get grip on that to tighten that up anymore. So I guess we're going to seat these as best we can and put their strain relief on that bit. I worry about having a short circuit event if I do this. It's just a case of taking my time. You know what, I'm going to... Oh, yeah, okay, so that strain relief is not going to do all that much, so I might look at how I can get something on there. Probably not going to happen unless I undo everything. I could compress a couple of pieces of this either side. Might actually do a better job at providing soft jaws. I think I'd feel more comfortable with that. Bit of a bodge. So here we go. Oh. The humidity has just shot up, so I've got snuffly again. Not something you really want to be in COVID times, I will say that much. You tend to get kicked out of shops and stuff. Alright, there we go. And yes, I did go and get tested. So, yeah, that's going to be a bit tighter, that one. Let's whack this piece on the top. Might actually relieve the strain a little bit, which is, after all, what it's for. Oh, and they're flat blade screws, so give us a moment to reach over and get a flat blade driver. Stanley driver to the rescue. We'll shove that guy in the back there a bit. So it's not going to look like the proudest plug connection ever. And I'm making excuses for myself. I probably shouldn't. Alright. Get you in there. Alright. It's going to mush it to the side, but considering the profile there, it's not surprising. I want to trim this bit of old insulation off flush. Hopefully not nicking the insulation on the existing wire. I am kind of running a little close to the wind here. Let's pull that out. Alright. Tighten this up. We'll go see if we can blow a fuse after this. See if we've messed anything up. Oh, I can turn the outlet fan now off. Oh, that's better. Alright, strain relief is done all the way up, but it is actually gripping. We have our plug. Alright, let's go smoke test this. So given the mistake I made just before, let's have a look. Now this is where you guys can play along at home. So you guys, maybe you can backtrack through the video and see where I had the picture of this sitting here, where I had the old one plugged in. Now I'm pretty sure I had ground at the bottom and positive in the A pin. So that's A and that's B pin. That's pretty sure how I'm pretty sure that's how I had it. The other pin goes to ground. Now let's plug this in. Now other end is unplugged. Okay, and fuse bypass is out. Main switch is off. Okay, we plug this in this position. Alright, this plug's not coming out in a hurry. Alright, so this strain relief positioned these cables roughly analogous to what they are in the pins, which would put positive at the top right, which will make it A, and ground at the bottom, which would be B. I think that's right. I think. This is where I'm about to make an epic mistake. Alright, let's plug this in. Okay, that's black to black. That's how we want it. Let's turn our main switch on. That is on. Let's plug in our... Okay, let's plug in our relay bypass. Relay appears to be on. Okay, let's see how we go. Ha! It's alive. Awesome. Alright, let's have a look. We've got a little bit of junky water in there, so I might tip that out, put some fresh stuff in and let it boil. Alright, while we're waiting for the kettle to boil, we're going to deal with a marine ply. This was under my apprentice's bed. This has been out in the sun and blowing over, but it looks largely dry. Most of the mattresses seem largely dry too now, so I think we can probably put it back together. Also, I found this underneath the seat. I suggested to my wife that we could bring kettle at some point. She was having a bit of a hard time at the time. She put the electric kettle in, and no base either. Not to mention we can't run an electric kettle off of 500 watts. I meant the gas kettle. Anyway, I need to close that door before it breaks off too. It's already done that once before. Anyway, let's get this stuff up and put in there. So, that little time lapse was of me putting everything back in here, as you probably gathered from the time lapse. This is flashing a light, which means it's boiled, and it is boiling quite well. It's actually up to temperature a lot quicker than it was last time we did this. So I think the new plug is actually providing proper connection to it. And we've got some spare wire we can turf out of the way. Alright, I am thoroughly exhausted. We still have much more to do. I'm not sure if I went through the projector upgrade, but we have upgraded the projector. Next on the agenda here is probably going to be vacuum lines under the front. I've got a new fan belt to put on. We've got to check our gearbox oil. Probably put a bit more Teflon additive in there. Oh, and I need to get the ladder and just have a poke around on the roof and see how this sealant's gone. For the moment, let's have a look at the sealant around the join here. It still looks like somebody jizzed themselves in here, but maybe it might seal up. I guess we'll find out next time it rains or when I get the hose onto it. So let's climb up on the roof and have a look. Alright, looks like somebody really had some fun up here. It is quite windy, but I guess it's sealing. I'll give it another spray later on, but it's bubbling more than I thought, probably because it's kind of hot up here. I thought I'd pick the cool weather to do it, but anyway, we'll see if it leaks. That's messy stuff though. It's now getting up on time for me to go and pick up my apprentice. I haven't had much to eat. Given how well this is working and how well the solar is, I think I'm going to whack a tin of food in here and then I'm going to go and get her. Before I do a tin of food, I'm going to have to top this up. Yeah, this is boiling much better than it was before. That plug is definitely the trick. Let's add enough water in here to boil a tin of food. Right. Actually, I'll leave the lid off that because I'll top the jerry up. Let's do that. Let's find out what I would like for lunch. Right, so I'm going to open this lid and take the whole thing off, in fact. Now, you guys will probably think this is becoming the ravioli channel. With pretty much every meal I've featured in this thing is ravioli. I swear to you, I do eat other things. It's just been really coincidental. I did one in here the other day, which was a steak and veg meal. Now, what I do in this cooker is I just try my best to get all the paper off here, and I throw the whole tin in. I pick off all this sort of stuff. The glue tends to stay with the can, so I do a pretty decent job. Let's get all this off here and just shave that bit of paper off. Right, we plonk the whole tin in, and that's about level with the top. We'll have a quick look in the top. So we've got our tin sitting like that, and there's enough water for probably 2 or 3 coffees in there as well. So now, take our lid, which is hot, and put that on. Shut it down, and that will lock it on. And importantly with this, you can tip it over like this and you won't spill your water out, which is nice while you're driving. Alright, I'm going to leave that go because the solar panels are putting in about as much as that's pulling. So it's good energy at the moment. I'm going to get this warmed up. I may see if I can find a pair of jaws for my Leatherman on the way to pick up my apprentice. But let's get moving.